Brilliant. Thank you so much. Also, thank you for taking the time. Congratulations again on this amazing pavilion. It looks really, really interesting.
Thank you.
So when did you start? How did the pavilion come to be?
Well, it has been evolving for probably 6 years.
Wow.
With a little disappointment that I encountered when I came back from London. I was conducting research at the Royal College of Arts on the topic of gravitational aesthetics, and somehow I started to hang around and spend time with people who work in space or with the topics of space. And when I came back to Lithuania, all of a sudden I realized there is no any discussion around the topics of not just space, but space culture. And this disappointment, as well as first the hunger for extraterrestrial discussions, made me to think of just something that would at least spark discussion around the topics of small space programs, or what can small countries like Lithuania do in order to contribute to the very phenomenon of space culture. And it's worth mentioning that Lithuanians are well known for several discoveries and inventions in space. One of them is actually the experiment that it was conducted in Soviet times in one of the Soviet stations in outer space, that actually managed to grow a plant from seed to seed, full life cycle. And just because it was under Soviet pressure, everybody thinks it was Russians, but actually it was Lithuanians. And we are well known for pioneering astrobotany, and there are other things that are known around the world that make us unique. That makes us with as unique kind of cosmic identity. It kind of develops unique kind of cosmic identity. But all of a sudden, that kind of topic around such discoveries and inventions became commercialized, militarized, and basically, I would say, imprisoned in very narrow minded vision, which is basically based on the space programs of other countries, mega countries like US and Russia. And then I started to look into what's going on in here, why people, when we start to talk about space, we usually refer to space economy or just new frontier for business and nothing else. I realized that it is much based on this new phenomenon that defines our current time we live in, which is called second space age or new space age, which is not only defined by the establishment of space economy, but also by the increase of number of space programs in countries. So there is probably no country that wouldn't have space programs, but also the increase of different kind of disciplines that all of a sudden become astro. So this unique kind of phenomenon marks or celebrates the increased not just interest in space, but also increased awareness of earthliness, of a connection to Earth that is hard to escape. So that is something else that also made me to think about something that would spark discussion about vision, and cosmic imagination. That would be first. It would be something unique. It would define the Lithuanian cosmic culture, but at the same time would go beyond any existing vision that defines the future in space, or just that challenges public imagination of space. So that requires specific kind of style. Extreme, you've got extreme sports or thrill rides. That would be a good metaphor, or that could define the project we came up with. it is simple idea to make Lithuanians cosmic in the way that you catapult them into one specific location in outer space. In one of the Lagrangian points, for example. These are points between two celestial bodies that at which the gravities of those two celestial bodies compensate each other. So there is super weightlessness, it's true weightlessness. It's super cold, it's super dark, and imagine, I'm talking about 5 years ago, imagine Lithuanians, a population of Lithuanians, all of a sudden find themselves in the emptiness of space. They freeze, they float. This is a very beautiful dance, extraterrestrial dance. But what is even more beautiful, those bodies start to attract each other. It's very simple physics. Any object that has a mass has gravitational force. So those bodies with very weak gravity start to attract each other. And after a while, we did calculations with astrophysicists. It would take 2 months until those bodies start to make a blob of biomass. And if you have a substantial amount of biomass, human biomass, you actually eventually make a blob that would round itself by its own gravity. That's how planets are made. That's basically replicating the process of planetary formation. So this was one of the ideas that, in addition to many other ones, that first was just sketch, just choreography, and then we started to see what kind of implications would be if we made it real. And usually this is how I start any project. I start to think of setting choreography, organizing bodies, relocating them, moving them in such a way that did not exist before, unprecedented dance. And then, only then, I see what would be implications of such a dance, such a choreography. And in that case, we had quite a few dances, but that one, a planet of people, a planet made of human bodies, was the one that had the most reaction, the richest, the most complex reactions from all kinds of people. And usually I work with all kinds of scientists. In this particular project, I worked with botanists, astroanthropologists, astropsychologists, astroethicists, and all kind of astro people, asking them, please give some opinion whether this project would be real or not, what kind of implications would be. And ta-da, we've got the first annual report. We've got all the contributions, opinions, some of them even just saying it's impossible. There is not enough to say just crazy. It's just beyond human. It's morbid, but also wow, it's a new genre of science fiction. it's a beautiful horror. But also, certain scientists found this project as beautiful, not a celebration, but illustration of certain ideas we revolve around now that defines zeitgeist, the current times, the spirit of these times. For example, this current obsession with apocalyptical ideas, this apocalyptical imagination thinking that is driving us. And this project is at its finest when it comes to apocalyptical thinking. So if you imagine to this point when there is no way to survive, we come to this point when we say, okay, there is no survival plan, what would we do? One way of thinking is at least to celebrate the end of humanity. And how we would celebrate? One proposition would be, let's make a monument for humans of humans, made of humanity. That would actually would be conserved for millions of years, even if it's just stardust. So, on the other hand, what is really interesting here, that the project works as a thought experiment that gives an opportunity for anybody to imagine themselves being stripped off of any constructs, earthly constructs, that makes us humans. Gender, culture, politics, everything. Let's put aside and put our bodies in this kind of vacuum, in close proximity to other bodies. And what is this combination, this composition of bodies? Is it a funeral, or is it some kind of restart of human architecture, radical restart of human architecture. Why architecture? Because if you catapult human being to outer space, human is not just just something that we use certain terms to define what is human as human being, but all the disciplines that define humanity, like architecture as well, they go together with human being, even if it's just naked body.